Hello, YouTube. Welcome to another episode of the live chat. Good to be back. Good to see everyone again. Welcome to the Benji-Sales live chat. So, as always, let's bring up the topics we can talk about right off the bat, right off the top, because I actually don't have many housekeeping notes today. In fact, I don't think there's really any. No major new housekeeping notes. So let's go straight into topics. Basically, we are in financial results season. So people are posting their financial results for the last quarter, basically the last 3 months, and we're getting a ton of data. So whether that's sales data, whether that's money, whether that's strategy for the upcoming year, there's just a bunch in general. So we've got 3 really big ones we can talk about right now. Capcom reported as well, but kind of the 3 that were the most interesting were PlayStation has posted their results, Xbox, the Microsoft in general, but the Xbox division, and also Ubisoft. Whole bunch of interesting stuff out of Ubisoft, so we can break all that down. There's a new interview that just came out via GameIndustry.biz with Jim Ryan, where he has a whole bunch of comments about the PlayStation 4, about the PlayStation 5, about Sony's strategy in general, and I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff in there, so we can kind of break some of that out. And yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest one. Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed yet again. It's gotten numerous delays this year, so we can talk about what that means for CD Projekt Red, what it means for this holiday season, what it means for Cyberpunk, the game itself. There's a whole bunch. So anyone that's new to the chat, if this is your first time ever hopping into the live chat, basically the way this works, you drop your comments, you drop your questions down into chat, and I hit as many of them as possible. You drive this show, not me. So I'm just breaking down anything you guys want to talk about. So make sure you start dropping those comments and questions. Now, I get to as many free ones as possible, but the way to guarantee I 100% answer your question is going to be the super chat. Do not feel obligated to donate in super chat, but if you do, I will 100% without a question hit your question. I'll go straight to it once the super chat drops. So those are the options. I think I saw one super chat right off the bat, so let me hit that really quick. Timmer72299, always in here, always so supportive, saying no questions today, just wanted to show my support. Well, thank you, Timmer. I really appreciate everything you do. You help me out, you help the channel out, and you're doing great work on Twitter yourself. So thank you so much, Timmer. Let me really quick, before I break down your comments, give you just a really brief overview about those financial results that I brought up. So let me bring up the highlights, and then we'll go deeper into the analysis. So first, let's look at PlayStation. So PlayStation shipped 1.5 million consoles last quarter. They're up to 113.6 million consoles total shipped. So amazing results there for them. 113 million PS4s out there. Their gaming revenue was up by 11%. Their profit was up by a gigantic 61%. Software digital sales, so the digital ratio for their games sold was 59%. They're now at nearly 46 million PlayStation Plus subscribers, which is a new record. It is the new high benchmark for PlayStation Plus subs, and they had the second best quarter 2 that Sony has ever had for PlayStation. So pretty darn amazing, right? I mean, that's about as good as you can ask for the very end of the generation, right? We're about to go into the PlayStation 5. So to be seeing these kinds of results at the very end of the generation, great news for Sony. But they weren't the only ones with good news. Now let's talk about Xbox. Now, Microsoft, as we know, does not give near as detailed information as Sony does in terms of the Xbox division. Sony gives us software, they give us hardware, they give us, exact shipment numbers. Microsoft does not. They're a lot more vague, but there is still some very good news in here for Xbox. So their overall gaming revenue was up 22% over last year, and the real highlight, their content and services revenue was up by 30%. And they said the thing that really drove that growth was Game Pass subscriptions increasing, first-party software, which is nice to see because they have not really mentioned first-party software growth in a while. So that's great to see. Stuff like, Flight Simulator is going to be part of that. Some of the PC stuff they've done, like Sea of Thieves and games like that. We also had Tell Me Why and things like that, lately. And then they're on track for their biggest year ever. So it was their best quarter ever for this time of year. It was the best result they've ever had for that. And they're on track by revenue for their biggest year ever. So Microsoft's in a great spot as well. And then let me really quick mention Ubisoft, and then I'm going into your questions. Ubisoft has delayed Far Cry 6 and Rainbow Six Quarantine. Both those games are delayed. So Far Cry was originally going to be in February. Now it is not releasing until after April. Now there's not an exact date there, right? It could be any time after that. But all we know for sure is it's going to be after April now. Basically, they said work from home just slowed its development and they had to delay it. And then Rainbow Six Quarantine, same thing. We don't really have a date, just that it's delayed. No surprise there, I don't think. I don't think either one of those are shocking. Rainbow Six Siege is now up to 65 million total players, and it's generated 2.5 billion in sales, which is astounding. I mean, just simply astounding. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is having amazing legs. Its sell-through for the quarter compared to Origins, like in the same time frame for that quarter, is 200% higher. So Odyssey is doing amazing. And then also they had double-digit year-over-year growth for games like The Division 2, The Crew 2, and For Honor. So great results for Ubisoft as well. They beat their forecast without any major new releases. So that's really good, right? They haven't had huge new games to drive their sales. So that shows how good their legs have been, that they have actually beat forecast without big new releases. That's great. So great news really across the board for all three of those. Okay, I see a bunch of super chats dropping. Let me hit those super chats. Let's get going on questions, everyone. Thanks for hopping in. Okay, so we got a bunch. We got a stack of super chats. Sean Mackey here with a super chat without a question. Thank you so much, Sean Mackey, for the super chat. KH with a super chat saying, hey, Benji, have you played Control on the Switch? K, I have not, because I'm waiting to do another replay of Control because I played the game when it first came out. And I loved it. You all know, anyone that knows me, I'm a huge Remedy fan. Love Control. But I'm waiting to do a Control replay until the next-gen enhancements come out for the next-gen version. But what I've heard, Kay, is I've heard it runs great. I've been talking to several people that played Control on Switch. I heard they were pretty darn impressed with how it turned out. And Kay, I'll tell you what, if this does well, right, if something like Control, because it's basically through the cloud, if that does well, this makes things very interesting for Nintendo, right? We know right now the hardware isn't powerful enough to natively run certain games. Obviously, there's games that it can. We've seen stuff like The Witcher get ported, games like Mortal Kombat 11. So we know that there are the Outer Worlds, like there are ways to get games running on it, but some games like Control, for example, that are really advanced technologically can struggle on the Switch. But if they can find some success here through these cloud projects, that's very interesting. It opens up a lot more third-party support than we have, kind of seen. So, okay, I haven't played it myself, but I'm hearing really good things. I heard they did great. And then Sean Mackey here with another super chat saying, first time on the live chat. Thank you. Thank you, Sean, for jumping in. We love the live chat. I think everyone here has a mostly great time with it. We have a lot of great discussion. I think we do something a little interesting here that not many other places on YouTube are doing. So I'm happy to see the YouTube channel continue to grow slowly over time. And I think this is something very different than what you're going to get from normal podcasts and stuff like that. We go a lot more in depth here. So thank you, Sean. And saying, love your Twitter account, very informative. Well, those are super nice comments, Sean. I really appreciate it. I'm working as hard as I can every single day to try to give, the best analysis and opinions I can. So thank you, Sean. Ralph Muster with a super chat. Hi, Benji. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing good, Ralph. Any comment about Super Mario's legs so far? So what I can say in the US is legs for 3D All-Stars are looking great. Expect a really good result whenever October NPD comes out. That'll be, next month. So be excited about that. It's doing very well in the US still. In Japan, it seems to be doing pretty good, but not as good as in the US, like comparatively. And then kind of the same thing in Europe. I'm seeing pretty good, but it seems like 3D All-Stars in particular is doing really well in the US compared to other regions. A lot of thoughts about why that could be. I think there's a lot of nostalgia in the US for games like Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine and stuff like this. I think there might be a particular nostalgia pull there in that market. But overall, I'd say legs are looking good, but particularly strong in the United States. Benji's Tank Top with the best username saying, "Hey Benji, thoughts on cloud on Switch?" We just mentioned that, but I can go a little bit more. And do you see more games doing this? Do you also see Xbox do this for Xbox One S? Benji's Tank Top, great question. So we kind of got my thoughts about control in there, but I'll touch on a few more things really quick. I believe the data mining found that Resident Evil 3 files or something were in there. So we might be seeing Resident Evil 3 come over through the cloud for Switch. Like I mentioned, this definitely opens the door as long as they keep running well and they find success. So I think it's a very viable path for Switch to get some games we would not expect on the platform. So pretty good news there for them. In regards to, do I see Microsoft doing this for the S? Yeah, for sure, right? Because we know that xCloud is like a giant focus for Microsoft, and xCloud is just going to keep growing and growing. So I definitely think so. Yeah, I could very well see xCloud being supported on One S for a long time, and able to play maybe some games that you wouldn't expect going into next gen. It's definitely viable for that. Of course, they're not going to run as well through xCloud as they do natively, right? I've been playing xCloud for the first time for the last week. I went out and bought a Razer Kishi. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I'm actually going to upload a video, like a 10-minute video, with my full thoughts on how I've liked xCloud, how I've liked the Razer Kishi, so you can have that to look forward to. But yeah, I'm impressed, and definitely I think xCloud is going to be a big deal. Case-by-case basis with the super chat. What's your take on Todd's comment? To me, it comes off as it's hard to imagine Elder Scrolls being an Xbox exclusive, but what are you going to do? Yeah, so Todd Howard just did an interview. Basically, here's the thing, right? Microsoft, Phil Spencer came out recently and mentioned that the reason he's not talking about exclusivity is he does not technically have control over Bethesda yet, right? Microsoft does not own Bethesda. They've reached an agreement to acquire Bethesda, but they are not acquired yet. That's not going to be a done deal until 2021. So as Phil mentioned, it's technically illegal for him to flat out tell Bethesda what to do or what they can and cannot do and what the strategy is going to be, because they don't own the company. They've just reached an agreement. Of course, I'm sure behind the scenes, Bethesda's already trying to figure some stuff out. They're already trying to find a path on what they're going to do, but it's not one of those things where Phil can just swoop in and flat out tell Bethesda what's up, because Microsoft doesn't own them. They're going to own them. They don't see any issues with acquiring them, but there's a full process you have to go through to acquire a gigantic company like that. So that's one reason why you haven't seen Phil just flat out make comments on exactly what they're doing with Bethesda. In regards to the Todd comment, it was kind of wishy-washy, right? Which is what everyone's done. Whether it's Phil, whether it's Todd, whether it's Pete Hines, every single comment we get is, because if you read the Todd quote, he's like, he mentions how, hey, we've had exclusives through Microsoft with Elder Scrolls before, right? We had Oblivion for a while. We had Morrowind. We had the Skyrim DLC exclusive for a period of time. But then he was also like, but we're still going to make our own decisions. And it's all over the place. I don't think we're going to have like a flat out concrete answer on, is Starfield exclusive, is Elder Scrolls exclusive until after Microsoft fully acquires them. My hunch, anyone that's followed me lately, my opinion is I do think Elder Scrolls and Starfield are going to be Xbox ecosystem exclusive and PC. But I could be wrong, right? None of us know that for 100% sure. Anyone that tells you they know for 100% sure just is lying to you. And I don't mean that lying like as in they're being a jerk. I just mean they don't know. We don't know. I don't even know for sure if Microsoft and Todd Howard for sure know yet. Because like I said, it's not a done deal. So we can all form our opinions, our thoughts. I don't think we'll have a for sure we can flat out say these games are exclusive until Microsoft buys Bethesda fully. Like it's done deal. But thank you for the super chat. And then Split End has a final super chat, and we can get into free questions saying hugs and kisses, Benji. Thank you so much, Split End 89. Thanks for being the best mod in the business. Split End's been a super busy dude lately. He's got so much going on, from writing stuff for the publication he works for to shooting videos for GameStop to now moderating the chat. So shout out to Split End for finding time to still moderate chat and be awesome. So thank you so much, Split End. Okay, now we can get into free questions. Thanks, everyone. All right. Killian Butler right here, right off the bat. Hi, Benji. Hope you're doing okay. Do you see a future where Game Pass revenue gets so strong that Xbox stops making consoles and pushes for Game Pass on PlayStation and Switch? Would Sony ever approve this? Killian, I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, let me extrapolate on that. I think Microsoft's overall vision, like the number one thing they see as most important, is Game Pass and xCloud over consoles. But I don't think Microsoft's ever going to reach a point where they just flat out don't make a console, right? And here's kind of my thoughts around why I think that. If you notice, Phil just said in an interview, he mentioned how soon they may have just little streaming sticks that plug into your, TV or whatever to stream Game Pass and xCloud. If you notice, that's a big departure from consoles, right? We're already kind of seeing that with xCloud and Game Pass on mobile, on Android. Like I mentioned, I was just playing Destiny 2 Strikes and Carrion and things like that on my Android phone through xCloud. So Microsoft definitely envisions a larger picture than just you going out and buying a console and sticking it under your TV. But that console is still going to be, probably for a very long time, the best way to experience games. As much as I've enjoyed xCloud, I'm really enjoying it. There is input latency that you can notice. I personally can notice it. It's not like game breaking. I don't think it's one of those things where it's like, wow, I can't even play the game. No, in fact, it's actually very impressive. But you can notice on certain games, especially I would say shooters, a little bit of latency. At times, there's a little bit of buffering and things like this. And over time, of course, that's going to improve. But the best way to play a game is still going to be your console for quite a while until that technology really improves. So it's still a giant business. You still have Sony selling, over 100 million consoles. You have Switch well on its way to over 100 million consoles. Consoles are going to be a big thing for a long time, but Microsoft has basically divorced themselves from being 100% dependent on console, right? It used to be the old model was you lived and died by how well your console did. And I call that the old model because we're moving to a direction now where console is an important part of your ecosystem, but you can find success outside of just that. So Switch, I would say theoretically I could see one day. I don't think Sony will ever allow it. Sony really views Microsoft as a competitor, like severely. More so, I think, than Nintendo and Microsoft's relationship is. And I just can't see Sony ever approving it. But I'd say Switch has a slim chance. I wouldn't say it's like a lock, but, in the next 5 to 10 years, who knows? I just don't see it on PlayStation really for, if it does happen, not for a long time. Mr. Tarantino saying, "Hey Benji, how are you doing? Doing great. What are your thoughts of others getting a PS5 early? Thank you." Yeah, I had a whole bunch of people reaching out to me with ever since the Xbox and the PlayStation saying, "Hey, why don't you get the free consoles? Why don't you get them?" Here's the thing, guys. I appreciate all the support, but I'm nowhere near big enough yet, right? I'm nowhere near in a position where someone like Sony or Microsoft views me as valuable to them for their marketing arm. I don't think. My stuff on Twitter, I'm telling y'all, thank you so much. It's because of you, but I do get some great metrics on there. I mean, I've had months where just in 1 month, I've had over 20 million interactions with my Twitter account. So it's definitely getting bigger. It's growing. It's things like this, but Sony and Microsoft just aren't there yet with me, guys. The vast majority of the people that are getting these consoles are people with like 100,000 plus subscribers on YouTube, 100,000 plus Twitter followers. I'm still a pretty small fish in the grand scheme of things. So maybe by the time we get to next gen, I'll be able to get the consoles from them, but I'm just not there yet for them. In terms of people getting them early, I think it's great, right? It's awesome to see the coverage. I'm loving seeing people get hands-on with the Xbox and the PS5 and being able to share their thoughts. So I think it's great. I love to see it, and it's very, very cool. And then asking what games am I hyped for both. I kind of tweeted out my pre-orders that I have right now. I've got the PlayStation 5 and the Series X console pre-ordered. That is completely thanks to the super chats from this channel, so thank you so much for that. And then on PlayStation, I got Godfall, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Demon Souls, and what am I missing? Spider-Man, Godfall, Demon Souls. What's the other exclusive? Oh, and Sackboy. And then on Xbox, I've got Call of Duty, Cyberpunk, and Valhalla. I'm really excited for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, to be honest. Very, very excited for that one. Elias here with a question regarding Halo. Like, what's going on with Halo and Microsoft Studios? So let's go into this. Yeah, this was a very big story. Elias Stapleton. Hi, Benji. What do you think of Microsoft's problems in their studios? Halo's director leaves, and today another news was revealed. Everwild Rare director leaves. I did not see that. I actually did not know the Everwild director left. What do you... Okay, so there's another question after that. So first, let me hit this. So in regards to Halo, this says to me Halo is very far away. Very far. Holiday 2021 at the soonest, I think. So if you look, this is the second director they've lost in 2 years. And the one that they just lost, Chris Lee, I think was his name. He was the one that they, in their last statement about moving and shifting things, they were talking about how, it's still his vision. He's, still leading the team. And then for him to leave and then Joseph Staten to come in, or Staten, however you pronounce his last name, who's famous for his early work on Halo, for the early Bungie Halo games to come in. That tells me there's a very, very big shakeup going on with Infinite. Like, big. I think they're reworking a lot, and I think that's good. What we saw out of Halo at the most recent showing just did not look up to par, right? I thought the gameplay itself, if we're going to talk purely about gameplay, I thought it looked fun. I thought it looked like it was going to be a fun game to play. But visually, we all know it just was not what we were expecting out of a next-gen Halo. And also, there were some big questions about story. What's going on here with the story? What's going on here with the plot? And it looks to me like they're reworking a lot. I don't think they're going to be like vastly overhauling the gameplay ideas for Halo Infinite, but I think they're reworking the story and they're reworking the visuals quite a bit. So, yeah, I mean, it's a big blow. Clearly, Infinite's had a troubled development, right? Anyone that says otherwise, the game has been in development for a very long time. It just got a delay till who knows when, and it's had 2 creative directors leave in 2 years. That is, by definition, a game in troubled development. That does not mean that Halo is going to be a bad game. It does not mean that, right? We've seen games that have had troubled development come out and still be a great game. We have seen that before. I think Microsoft knows how important Infinite is, and my guess is it is going to be good, but we could be waiting a while. holiday 2021, or it even could be into 2022. I'll be very surprised if Halo Infinite hits before holiday 2021. I think it's catching at least a full year delay. All right, and then we had 2 super chats drop. Let me hit these super chats really quick. Case by case basis with a $10 super chat. Benji, hey, Halo Infinite gets pushed, God forbid, to 2022. Does Xbox either 1, purchase exclusivity of a big name IP for 2021, or 2, push up a game they wanted to release later? What a good question, case by case. Okay, if Halo really slips all the way out of 2021, I do think they need something else big. My hunch, the thing that I have been thinking case by case is I think that Starfield is their big 2021 game. I have a feeling Starfield's getting fairly close. And when I say close, I mean basically a year away from being done. Some of the things Pete Hines has said, some of the things that Todd has said have kind of made me think that that game could be a holiday 2021 game. So I would say if Halo slips, if they have Starfield there, they're probably pretty okay, because Starfield is coming from Bethesda, like proper Bethesda, not from one of Bethesda's various studios, but from Bethesda Game Studios, right? The developers of Fallout and the developers of the Elder Scrolls. So if that's there, I think they're okay. If Starfield's not, then yes, they need something. Whether that's buying exclusivity, whether that's trying to push something up. If they don't have Halo or Starfield by next holiday, they do need something. Case by case, they got to have something. Especially because God of War, it appears, is going to be launching probably late next year. They're going to need a big game opposite that. Franklin Clinton with a super chat. Thank you so much, Franklin. Thoughts on DAS launching Destruction's All-Stars launching on PlayStation Plus instead of full price at launch? Could it follow in the footsteps of Fall Guys and Rocket League, or do you see it being smaller? Well, thank you, Franklin Clinton, for the super chat. Thank you so much. So I think this is a great move for the game because, let's be honest, at $70 at launch this holiday, just seemed like a game that was going to miss, right? I hate to say that. Like, you know, anyone who follows me knows I try to be a pretty optimistic guy, pretty upbeat about stuff. And I had Destruction All-Stars pre-ordered. Part of it because I wanted to support Shinobi. Shinobi from Twitter. I consider him an actual legitimate friend. And, the studio that he works for is working on this game. They're not the lead, but they are working on it. And I wanted to support Shinobi, and I had this game pre-ordered. But all of that said, it was a game I was very worried about. If you look at the giant games that are launching this holiday, you have Cyberpunk, which is delayed till December now, but it was originally a November game. You got Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You got Spider-Man. You got Demon Souls. You got Call of Duty. Like, there's so many huge games that a game like Destruction All-Stars at full price definitely felt like a game that could easily get lost and underperform. So I think putting it on PlayStation Plus is great. I think delaying it out of that crazy window is great. It's coming out in February now, right? Which is a whole lot better looking than December or November is going to be. So Franklin, I think that's very good. Do I think it's going to be the next Fall Guys or Rocket League? No, personally, but I could actually see it being successful through PlayStation Plus. I really could. The graphics look good on the game visually. We still don't have enough information on exactly how it plays, but it could be a game that could definitely find a community through multiplayer. So, Franklin, my guess, smaller than Fall Guys, smaller than Rocket League, but a lot more successful than it would have been if it would have been $70, not on PlayStation Plus and at launch. So, definitely a much better position than it was. Thank you for the super chat. Thanks for the good turnout today, everyone. We're over 120 now for a while, so thank you, everybody. Thank you. Okay, let's hit some more free questions. Elias, I'll come up to more of your questions. I see you asked several. I'll come back, but I want to make sure that multiple people get questions in, so I'm going to hit a couple more first. Costas with a question. Thank you for always being in these chats, Costas. And thanks, Elias, too. So many regulars always in here. I love it. Demon Souls got some serious momentum. 70,000 likes in 4 hours. Yes, Kostas, it's looking like Demon Souls is ramping up, right? I think this is definitely going to be one of the biggest launch games for PlayStation easily. Spider-Man will sell more. We all know that, right? I don't think anyone in the chat is expecting Demon Souls to outsell Miles Morales. Just not going to happen. Spider-Man's way too big. But I think Demon Souls will be the second biggest out of all the launch titles, right? It's going to be bigger than Sackboy. I think it's going to be bigger than Godfall, at least on PlayStation. Who knows? Godfall might be like a surprise hit on PC or something too, because it is going to be on PC. But at least on PlayStation, I think Demon Souls sits right at number 2. It's going to be Spider-Man, Demon Souls, and then either Godfall or Sackboy. I don't really know actually which direction that one's going to go. I'll say some of the early metrics I see for Sackboy aren't super impressive, but that's like an E-rated, easily accessible game. So it's going to probably reach an audience that's not super active on, forums and Twitter and YouTube. There's a lot of kids and parents playing with their kids that game could hit. So between Sackboy and Godfall, which is going to be bigger, I'm really not sure. But yeah, it's looking like Demon Souls is really ramping up. That game's going to do very well. Very, very well. We had 2 super chats drop. Let me hit those really quick. Franklin Clinton with a second super chat. Thank you so much, Franklin. Second question, do you think Cyberpunk delays significantly hurt the sales potential, or will gamers likely buy regardless in the same numbers? Okay, let me get a drink really quick. I'm drinking on a Pepsi Zero Sugar Vanilla today. I know sometimes people are curious what I'm drinking, as funny as that is, but Zero Sugar Pepsi. Okay. So I don't think it necessarily hurts Cyberpunk's sales potential. Here's what I'll say about the delay, though, Franklin. I am getting worried about the quality of this game. And I love CD Projekt Red, right? Anyone that's known me for a long time, I used to on forums for a long time. I rocked a Geralt avatar from Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Like, that was like the thing I was known by. In fact, once I started showing my face and stuff, some people were disappointed. They were like, Benji, I always pictured you as Geralt, and now I have this guy in front of me. It's just not the same. So I'm a huge CD Projekt Red fan. But the amount of delays this game has had, it's worrying me, Franklin. It is worrying me that when this game comes out, it might be buggy, I think the actual quality in terms of like quests and writing and things like this, I'm still very confident in that because I know how talented CD Projekt Red is. But I'm definitely getting a little worried about the quality, that maybe it's pretty buggy at launch. So if something like that happens, Franklin, it could impact it if it's loaded in bugs or something like that. But I don't think it's really going to hurt its like sales, because this is why. It's being delayed till December, and December is pretty light, right? Especially whenever you compare it to November. The main thought I had about this, Franklin, and I tweeted this is great for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I bet Ubisoft was doing flips, popping champagne bottles, dancing in the boardrooms. I bet Ubisoft was so happy with this announcement because, yes, they play different, right? Cyberpunk is a first-person, futuristic shooter RPG. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a Viking historical action game, but they're both giant open-world games that are going to take you a massive amount of time to complete. And if they launched side by side, I still think both would have done well, but I think it could have hurt Assassin's Creed more than Cyberpunk. And now that that's delayed basically a month, it gives Assassin's Creed so much more breathing room for a multi-platform game. So my main thought, Franklin, is not so much that this hurts Cyberpunk, but it really helps Assassin's Creed. Like I said, I bet Ubisoft was pumped when they saw that announcement. And then Killian Butler with a super chat. Thank you so much, Killian. Do you think the rumor that Sony Santa Monica are working on 2 projects is true? Could be. What do you make of Jim Ryan's comments regarding PlayStation Studio growth? So I actually have to be careful about what I say about Sony Santa Monica. I can't really go too in depth about what I know what's going on over there, y'all. I have reason to believe that that would be true, yeah. But I can't go more into it than that. Secrets. Y'all know me. I'm not a leaker. Not really, at least. So I can't go too into that, Killian. But since it's a super chat, what I will say is I definitely could very well see that being true about 2 projects. In regards to what do I make about Jim Ryan's comments about regarding PlayStation Studio growth, I can go more in depth on that. Okay. So basically what Jim Ryan said is that they're not opposed to acquiring someone, but it has to like feel right. And their bigger focus is on growing the teams they already have, right? He specifically mentions studios like Naughty Dog that have been putting out big games for a long time, but he said, look at Sucker Punch and look at how good Ghost of Tsushima was and look at how that game has exceeded their sales expectations. He flat out said it was bigger than they thought it was going to be. It reviewed well. So basically Jim said, yeah, you know, if a prime candidate for a studio is out there, we'll buy them. But their kind of main focus is organic growth. And as you mentioned in the first part of that, I think having studios make more than one game at a time could be a prime path to that. Having someone like Naughty Dog have 2 games in the works instead of one game that takes, 5 to 6 years to complete. If you staff up Naughty Dog, and you already have that culture there, you don't have to build a brand new studio or buy them. You just grow that one. Then you can have 2 games in development there, right? So I definitely see the thought pattern behind it. Basically what this tells me, don't expect Sony to go out and do some crazy acquisition spree. Sony's just out there like Microsoft buying 15 studios. Don't expect something like that. Expect maybe a studio here or there, but expect them to just keep growing Naughty Dog, keep growing Guerrilla, keep growing Sucker Punch, these kinds of studios. All right. And then we have one more super chat that just dropped. Benji. Thank you so much, Benji. Hi, Benji. Great feedback for Benji-Sales. Digital Foundry says the best looking next-gen game at launch. I agree. Did Bluepoint set the standard for next-gen graphics? For early next-gen, yes, Benji. And you know what? A while back, like whenever we still didn't know for sure what Bluepoint was working on, whenever they were hiring, they said flat out in their hiring, they said our goal with our game is to, as you said, set the standard for next gen. Like they flat out said that. Obviously, visuals was a huge focus for them. And Benji, I think they did it. Yep, I think they pulled it off. Out of all the next-gen launch games, this is, of course, not taking into account games that are going to release in 3 years because they're going to look better, right? We see that every generation. Games further on do look better than the launch titles as studios get more familiar with the hardware and exactly where they can maximize it and what they can push here or cut back on here. But at launch, I have not seen a game that looks better than Benji-Sales. The latest showing of Assassin's Creed Valhalla looked pretty freaking good. Anyone that's seen the newest footage of Valhalla, it looked like a giant upgrade from what we'd seen before. But this was PC footage, so we don't know exactly what the console footage is going to look like. But yeah, Benji-Sales, I agree. I agree with Digital Foundry. Best looking launch game, yeah. All right, let's get back to some free questions. Javier Macias Leon. Hey, Benji, do you think we will see a next-gen version of Crash 4? I am waiting for a PS5 version, and I may be not the only one. It's a great question, Javier. I've seen a lot of people saying that they skipped Crash because next-gens are right around the corner, and they're going to just play it there. Makes sense to me. I'm the exact same way, right? I love Crash. I bought the Insane Trilogy. I bought Crash Team Racing. I bought... I was pumped for Crash 4 when it was announced, but I was the same way. I was like, I'm going to just wait because this game is literally 1 month before next-gen launch. I did the same with Star Wars Squadrons. I'm interested in that, but I skipped it because I'm like, yo, next-gen is literally about to be here. So I think it would behoove them. I think it would do very well for them if they do that. I would expect some kind of patch, yeah, for Crash 4. I don't know that it's going to be like a brand new SKU, like a whole new box, something like that. But I would definitely, if I was Activision, release a patch, because also Crash 4 hasn't exactly lit the sales charts on fire. You know, we talked about this during my NPD breakdown chat, which you can go back and watch for anyone that didn't see that. And Crash 4 is doing like okay-ish, but it's not doing near the levels Insane Trilogy did. So I do think spurring some life into that game is a smart call. And yes, a next-gen patch would go a long way in helping that for sure. Super chat just dropped. Thanks, everyone. I think we're up to like 150 in chat now. Kevin Conye, haven't been able to catch one of these live in a while. Just saying thanks for your informative videos. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much. Great to see you here. I totally understand why some people can't make these live, right? We all have a lot going on in our lives. But thank you, Kevin. I love doing these videos. I love breaking things down on YouTube and Twitter. So thank you so much for the super chat and the support. It means a great deal to me. It truly does. All right. Back to some free questions. Costas with a free question. Which game would sell best? A new Naughty Dog... Oh, this is fun. A new Naughty Dog IP or Cory Barlog with a new IP? Ooh. Oh, man, this is hard. Costas, this is almost impossible for me to accurately predict because the new IP could be anything, right? It could be anything for both of them, right? Here's what I'll say, because it's so hard for me to answer that question without seeing what the new IPs would be. Let me kind of expand on that. Here's what I want to see. I do want Naughty Dog's next game to not be The Last of Us Part 3. And I'm someone that loved The Last of Us Part 2. That game is super controversial. People love it or they despise it. I loved it. I fell on the side that loved it. I did have a few problems with the game narratively and pacing issue-wise, but overall, I loved The Last of Us Part 2. But you know what? Naughty Dog hasn't done a new IP in a very long time. They have a ton of talent in that studio. I want to see them do something brand new. I do want to see The Last of Us Part 3, but I want to see that after a new IP. I would love to see them do a new IP as their debut PS5 game and then Part 3 after that. So that's my thoughts in regards to them. In regards to Cory, we'll see. Okay. Free questions. Ugarkan, Basoglu. Sorry, I'm sure I did a very bad job on pronouncing that name. Benji, which game deserves Game of the Year award so far? And in the end, which one will take it? I think the candidates will be The Last of Us Part 2, Doom Eternal, Ghost of Tsushima, Final Fantasy Remake, and Valhalla. I actually agree literally with exactly the ones you mentioned, mostly, except I do think Animal Crossing is going to be in there. I mean, for a lot of people, Animal Crossing was an amazing game. For me, not so much. I've been honest about that. Animal Crossing did not click with me. It just did not. I'm not like I was never traditionally an Animal Crossing player, and I thought that New Horizons was going to be the first Animal Crossing I put a lot of time in. I was like, you know what? It's coming out on Switch. I'm really going to give this franchise a shot, and it just did not click with me at all. But for a lot of people, Animal Crossing, like, they loved it. They play it all the time. Look at its sales figures. So I do think Animal Crossing is going to get a lot of nominations as well. For me personally right now, it's a battle between Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2. I just keep flip-flopping on those. You know what? I would also say Ori and The Will of the Wisps is in the conversation as well. Ori should be in that list as well. That game is phenomenal. Phenomenal game. But for me, it's between The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, and I keep flip-flopping. Like, literally. Like, one day I'm like, Ghost of Tsushima's Game of the Year. The next day I'm like, no, it's The Last of Us. So I don't know. One of those two. Silence PP7. How concerned are you with the PS4, Xbox One versions of Cyberpunk 2077 at this point? Very. And do you see yourself waiting for the next gen versions? I am very concerned, Silence PP7. I think that's the main issue. I think the main reason this game keeps getting delayed is because of the current gen versions. And they actually just recently made a comment that somewhat reinforces that. They said that the next gen consoles and the PC are doing fine, but they're still working on the last gen. That says to me that's the main bottleneck. That's the main issue. I'm not waiting for the next gen enhancements because Cyberpunk 2077 is just going to flat out play better on PlayStation 5 and Series X anyways, even without a patch. Like, it just doesn't even need a patch because those consoles just have more power in general. So even without adding ray tracing and all this kind of stuff, like just putting it on the hardware, the gigantic gains in CPU and GPU and all this is going to make the game run better. It's not going to run through backwards compatibility mode, it sounds like. At launch, it is going to be using the next-gen hardware. It's just not going to have the patch, which is going to add in things like ray tracing and a lot more effects. But it is going to be using the next-gen hardware. So I'm going to play it at launch, but I'm definitely playing it on next-gen. Yeah, I'm not playing that game on current-gen. No way. Batwing saying, hello, Benji. Do you think PlayStation could acquire Square Enix or Capcom as a response to Bethesda? No, Batwing. I think those companies are way too expensive for Sony. Could they theoretically do it? Yes. They do have the resources to technically do it, but it would be such a gigantic chunk of their money. I think it's no. I just think that's too big. Way too big. Here's the thing. Microsoft spent $7.5 billion on Bethesda, and it was like pocket change to them. Like, it was nothing. Like, to Microsoft as a company, $7.5 billion is literally nothing. It's just a passing moment. To Sony, $7.5 billion is a lot of money. There's a vast gap in resources between Sony and Microsoft. Now, obviously, in the gaming space, Sony is way more dominant than Microsoft. But Microsoft as a company is a $1 trillion business. Sony is nowhere near that, not even remotely in the same ballpark as that. So asking Microsoft to spend $7 billion is a whole lot different than asking Sony to spend $7 billion. Could it theoretically happen? Yes, but I don't think so. No, I think those companies are way too big for Sony. Sounds PP7 saying, recently games such as Days Gone have received beefy updates weeks ahead of the PS5 launch. Yeah, The Last of Us Remastered as well. What enhancements do you expect to see for these backwards compatible games, and will Sony do away with remasters? Here's the thing. I think Sony's opinion on remasters is fully going to come down to how Spider-Man Ultimate Edition sells, right? Because that is a remaster, and it's a paid-for one. It's not free. If that does really well, I think they're going to still have paid remasters on a case-by-case basis, right? Some games that they don't plan on putting all of the work into remastering, I think they'll just be free updates with some boosts, right? We're seeing that, for example, with God of War. They just announced that through its backwards compatibility boost mode, it can hit 60 FPS. That would be one of the main draws on releasing a God of War remaster, would be to get to 60 FPS, but just through backwards compatibility mode, since it had an unlocked frame rate mode, it can get there. So I'd be surprised if you saw that. Days Gone is a game that did pretty well for Sony, actually, better than a lot of people think, but I don't think it's the kind of game that was big enough that people would go out and buy a remaster, so that might just get like some slight enhancements through patches. But let's say like a particularly gigantic seller, I could see them still making you pay for like a remaster that has new stuff in it, right? Spider-Man's getting ray tracing and things like that. So I think it's going to be kind of a case-by-case thing. And if the Ultimate Edition of Spider-Man does really, really well, you'll definitely see more of them for sure. We just had a super chat drop. Make sure I haven't missed a super chat. Nope. But we did just have a new one drop, so let me hit that. Franklin Clinton 98 with the third super chat of the chat. Thank you, Franklin. That is incredibly generous. Thank you. 3 super chats in one chat. Thank you so much. Could the Uncharted movies doing well? Yeah, this is fun. I'm glad someone brought this up. I want to talk about the Uncharted movie. Doing well, incentivize Sony and Naughty Dog to actually keep making games for the franchise, or would it not translate into game sales? Franklin, I am pretty confident there is a new Uncharted game in development at Sony right now. I just don't think Naughty Dog's making it. So, will Uncharted continue? I think so. I'm pretty confident in it, actually. I just don't think Naughty Dog's making the next Uncharted. I think somebody else is. And yeah, that's way too big of a franchise, right? Uncharted is giant. It is one of Sony's biggest IP. You can't just end that, right? Like, I know how some people feel. It's like, we want to see new things. You don't want to see endless rehashes. But the gaming industry, the facts are, in successful franchises, sequels sell. People talk about how they want new things, but sequels are some of the biggest games. And not always, right? Ghost of Tsushima is a brand new IP, and look at how big that was. The Last of Us, at one time, was a brand new IP, and look at how well that sold. So you always need new IPs. It's not one of those things that it's like, only do sequels, ignore new IP, that's it. Because that's also a bad move. You got to keep a steady stream of brand new things and experiences in the pipeline. But also, you don't take your biggest franchises and just be like, nope, we're done. And Uncharted is literally in Sony's top S tier of sales and reviews and things like this. So it's important to note that Naughty Dog said they were done with Uncharted. Sony never said they were done with Uncharted, right? Sony themselves never came out and made a statement, Uncharted's done. We're never making another Uncharted. What happened was Naughty Dog said, after Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy, we want to move on to some other things. But Sony's a giant company with a lot of studios and a lot of employees. So there's definitely still a way to make Uncharted happen. I don't think it's going to be Nathan Drake. I think that they really did wrap up Nathan Drake's story. I think Nathan Drake himself is done, but I think you will have an Uncharted universe game, whether that's dealing with Nate's daughter, whether that's dealing with other characters, right? We still have Chloe, we still have Sam, we still have Nadine. Like, there's so many other characters you can use. So it could be something like that, but I definitely think you'll get some kind of Uncharted game. And yeah, the movie, here's the main thing. If it does well, I don't think it necessarily makes another Uncharted game a lock, because I think that's a lock anyways, but it's definitely going to make Sony do more live action projects, right? We've got Uncharted movie in the works. We have The Last of Us live action series on the way. If those do well, dude, God of War, how amazing would a live action God of War be? I mean, that's just screaming for a Netflix series or even a movie. I mean, the scale, you could do amazing things with God of War. There's a ton, right? There's a ton of Sony IPs. So yeah, I think if the Uncharted movie's big, you're going to just see Sony keep making these for sure. All right, super chats are cleared for now. Thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you for a huge chat. We have an amazing turnout today. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been just such an awesome chat. All right, let's hit some free questions again. Teddy Morton here. Hey, Benji Nader. I like it. DualSense getting a lot of hype with Astro's Playroom, but not hearing much about Tempest 3D audio. First, you think we're not hearing about Tempest because it's a flop. Teddy, I don't think that Tempest is a flop. I think it is a very cool thing. I think there's a couple reasons. That is like kind of harder to communicate, right? It's a lot harder to tell somebody about how something sounds better than to relate something to something we've all experienced with Rumble, right? And triggers and like tactile feedback to be like, hey, you can legitimately feel the controller changing and things like this. I think it's just way easier of a marketing thing. And it's also something I think that is probably going to feel pretty revolutionary compared to the audio component. And I just think it's like an easier thing to market. I don't think that Tempest audio is necessarily a flop. I just think whenever you're at Sony and you're marketing or even third parties. Keep in mind, a lot of third parties in their quick blurbs have talked about, with Tempest 3D audio. But you are right, Teddy, in that we haven't heard like a lot of in-depth information about, hey, here's exactly how Tempest makes Assassin's Creed or another game sound better. So I do think it's more to do with marketing than that Tempest itself isn't good. I'm expecting the Tempest audio to be pretty sweet. But I just think DualSense is really going to catch people off guard in a positive way because the previews have been raving about it. Mr. Tarantino saying, hit the like button, folks. Come on, show the support. Thank you, Mr. Tarantino. I am not one of those YouTubers that's always pressuring my audience for likes. I'm not going, hit like, hit like, hit like. I haven't even mentioned it yet in this chat. But yes, if you do like doing these live chats, I would appreciate if you hit the like button. It definitely helps my channel get found, helps my YouTube videos get found, and all of that goodness. All right, we just had a super chat drop. Let me hit that super chat. Benji with the second super chat. Thank you so much, Benji. Daniel Ahmed said more cloud games will come on the Switch. Interesting. I had a feeling. Do you think this is a sign for xCloud, Luna, or Stadia on Switch? Which one is more likely? Ooh, interesting. Well, here's the thing. Cloud is definitely taking off. It really is. Like, as I mentioned earlier, folks, don't worry. Streaming is not the end-all, be-all future. Don't panic. People that love your consoles and say, I'm only going to ever have consoles and I'm only going to buy games. I don't want to stream. Don't worry. That is going to be here for a very long time. But streaming is going to be very big over the next 10 years. I'm doubtful about things like Luna or Stadia personally. Listen, I don't have the same level of confidence about those products as maybe certain other analysts would, mostly because, hey, the video game industry is a hard thing to break into in a major player way, right? Look at how much effort and resources Microsoft has had to put in, and they're still not at the level of like a Sony or a current Nintendo, right? They are a big player, clearly. They have a big audience. They're doing well, really well actually right now. But they still don't necessarily have the sort of momentum that a PlayStation does. These companies that think they can just come in, spend a lot of money, and instantly become a player, I disagree. I just don't think so. In fact, I would easily expect something like xCloud and PlayStation Now eventually to be way bigger than Luna or Stadia. That's just my opinion. Who knows? In a couple of years, this could look foolish. But Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo are companies that have been in this space for a long time. They know what the gaming industry is, and I think that they're going to have more success with streaming. Out of those, I would say I think xCloud is the most likely between xCloud, Luna, or Stadia, but I could again be totally wrong on that. But Nintendo, I think, would be more apprehensive to partner with someone like Luna or Stadia that is a brand new player in the market and you don't exactly know their track record or what their goals are going to be for the gaming industry. Whereas Nintendo and Microsoft have partnered now on multiple projects, whether it's characters in Smash or whether it's Microsoft publishing games like Minecraft and other games on Switch. Like, there's more of a relationship there. So I think Nintendo would feel more comfortable with xCloud than Luna or Stadia, would be my guess. All right. We've been at almost an hour now, so I'm going to be a little picky on the free questions. I'm still going to hit a bunch, but I'm going to be just a little picky since we're an hour in. Urgerkin saying, as he's wearing an Xbox t-shirt today, PC t-shirt next live chat. Yes, because I had a Sony one last time. Listen, y'all, I am not a console warrior. I'm not. I totally get people that are huge fans of a particular platform. In fact, I think it's great. I follow people that are like really big fans of one platform. Totally, that's awesome. I just don't like the negativity that kind of comes around with that sort of thing sometimes when someone's just like a warrior. But me, I like them all. I like all the consoles, to be honest. I care more about games than I care about platforms. Like that's why I've also always been more interested in software sales than I am in hardware sales. I'm personally way more interested in what Cyberpunk, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Spider-Man are going to sell than I am about PlayStation 5 and Series X, to be perfectly honest. Of course, I still care about the hardware side, but I care more about software because I like games more than I like consoles. All right. A lot of questions here from earlier that are similarly. Joker walkthroughs. Here's an interesting question. Hey, Benji, do you know what happened to VG charts and why they stopped posting weekly, yearly sales? I know most sales nowadays are digital, but they just stopped posting for no reason. So Joker, VG charts, it's always been an estimate, right? They are a website that does estimates like a lot of people. I'm not one of those people that throws VG charts under the bus, especially because for a long time I was a member there, long while back during my GameStop days. And they were my early GameStop days. It wasn't even whenever I moved up higher in the GameStop company. It was more like whenever I was fairly low level at GameStop. But yeah, I was there a long time ago. And I, at the time, really loved the forums. I thought VG Charts forums was a great spot to talk about video game sales. There was not many people out there talking about video game sales, and that was really a spot where you could sit down and chat with people. So I learned a lot from those forums, to be honest. Very formative years for me. In terms of like their estimates, I don't know. I'm not a member of VG Charts anymore, and I don't speak with the staff there much, except for on Twitter occasionally. I think they're just kind of reworking the way they think about how they do sales and things like that. So I'm not sure the exact reasons for you, Joker, but I think that they're trying to make things a little bit less estimate based and a little bit more maybe historical data, but that would be something to ask them. But I thought I'd touch on them really quick. Grudge Evo. Benji, are you interested in playing the medium? Oh, heck yes. I love horror. So yeah, the medium I'm playing day one, but that's on Game Pass. So that's not why it's in my pre-order list. I don't need to buy the medium because I've got Game Pass, baby. But yes, I'm very interested in the medium. All right, I'm going to scroll down further to questions. I'm going to start taking some from the bottom. Oh, we have a super chat from SplitEnd89. So Xbox has obviously given up on Games with Gold. Yes, they did that quite a while ago. Really, the last year, Games with Gold has become not great, right? It's very old games, and we're talking like old games, or it's indies. And I love indies, right? I'm not here to bash indies, but what I mean is if you compare the monthly offerings between PlayStation Plus and Games with Gold, there is a significant difference, right? Sony's giving out bigger, newer games, indies as well, of course, right? And of course, a lot of them are older games as well. But you're seeing more AAA games still hit PlayStation Plus for free than you're seeing with Games with Gold. And that's because the focus from Microsoft is so on Game Pass, right? If they're going to make a deal, because if whether you're giving away a game free with Games with Gold or you're giving a game away with Game Pass, giving away, it's a subscription, of course. Microsoft's going to have to choose, right? And the bigger plays, they're going to put into Game Pass because Game Pass is what they want to grow. Game Pass is what they see as their future. Xbox Live Gold already has a lot of subscribers. It's all about boosting Game Pass. So clearly, yes, SplitEnd89, the amount of money they're investing into the free Gold games is way lower than what they're investing into Game Pass. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Timur saying, I find it odd VG Charts follows me. Yeah, they follow me too. Like I said, there's a lot of good people at Charts. I think they get a bit of a bad rap, and I think that's less Charts' fault. I think it's more because other places at times use their data like it's fact, and it's not. It is always an estimate. It is, unless it's historical data, because I know they do go back and edit things once, legit numbers come out. But it is not fact, right? The VG Charts weekly numbers that would come out, sometimes you'd see people say, oh, the PlayStation 4 sold exactly this many units. No. That is an estimate. All right. RRD with an interesting question. Hi, Benji. Do you think that Microsoft is in an important position in gaming to stop other trillion-dollar companies from coming in and changing the culture since Nintendo and Sony can't compete? This is actually a very interesting question. Like RRD, this is actually fascinating. So here's my perspective on it, and it's not necessarily going to be everyone's perspective. So if someone disagrees with me here, I totally get it. But let's look at Bethesda. Would you rather Microsoft, who is an established player in the gaming industry, has a track record in the industry, isn't someone you know is just going to enter the industry and bail out quickly? Would you rather them have bought Bethesda or Amazon or Google? To me, it is definitely Microsoft, right? And I see how someone could easily be like, Benji, you're wearing an Xbox shirt. You're being a fanboy. I'm telling you, I promise I'm not being a fanboy here on this. Out of those companies, Google and Amazon, you don't know how they're going to treat the gaming industry over the years. They could be saints, right? Maybe Google and Amazon have the best motives. Maybe they're going to come in and change the industry for the better. That is theoretically possible. But at least Microsoft, we know that they're in it for the long haul for games, right? Regardless of whether you like them or not. I would have rather seen that. But I also totally understand the argument that, hey, I would rather no one acquire Bethesda, right? I would rather Bethesda be independent. I'd rather not see consolidation of the gaming industry. And I think people that feel that way are completely in their own right as well. I'm not telling you you're wrong for thinking that. But we are in a scenario where people are going to be spending money. Like, that's just where we're at. If Amazon and Google are really going to make big plays, they might come in and spend some money. Microsoft's going to spend some money. So I do think it's better that Microsoft gets someone like Bethesda than those places. But at the same time, I totally understand the argument. I don't want anyone to buy them. I want them to be independent. I get that too. So I wouldn't say Microsoft buying Bethesda is the best thing for the gaming industry. But I think it's a hell of a lot better than Amazon or Google, personally. Ooh, John Geraldton with an interesting question. True or false? Games with the most cumulative gameplay hours on next-gen consoles are already released. John, kind of, right? You make a great point, John, because here's the deal. Destiny 2 is still going to be giant on next-gen, giant. It still has a huge player base. People forget that, but Destiny 2 still has a huge player base. Rainbow Six Siege, as Ubisoft announced today, 65 million players. That's going to be gigantic on next-gen consoles still as well. You've got a bunch, right? I mean, I could go down the list and name a ton, as you know. In terms of true or false, I would say true, actually, for somewhat true for the first, little bit. But don't forget, there are going to be new games as a service titles that are going to get made. They're going to have crazy play times throughout this generation, right? You are going to see the next Rocket League next gen. It's not going to be Rocket League. It's going to be something else, because Rocket League will be huge on next gen too. But you get what I'm saying. There will be these new experiences that are the next Rocket League, the next Destiny, the next Rainbow Six Siege. It will be a thing. But John, you make a great point that yes, especially early on, some of the biggest games in terms of hours and playtime will be games from this generation. Yes, there's absolutely truth to that. I think we saw a super chat drop. J-Cat, what is up, J-Cat? Great to see you here, J-Cat. Thanks for always being so supportive. Will you play Bug Snacks now that it will be included in PS Plus? Oh, yeah, for sure. I was going to play Bug Snacks no matter what. I didn't know if I was going to play it at launch because there's so many games. But now that it's a PlayStation Plus game, J-Cat, absolutely. Bug Snacks is going to get played, no doubt about it. It's going to be hard to work time in for everything because there are so many freaking games coming out. But yeah, Bug Snacks will definitely get played. I'm hoping to have my Twitch up and running, y'all. Here's the thing. I want to turn this room down here into a streaming room. I've already mentioned that on the chat before. Right now, all the super chats have been going into a pool for next gen, whether that's the consoles or games. Like every single super chat, I haven't spent $1 of your guys' super chats yet. Every single dollar has gone into a pool that is helping me buy the consoles and helping me buy games. But after that, right, the next step, so you guys know exactly what you're spending your money on. The next year, I've gone over this before, don't worry, it'll be super quick and I'll go back to questions, is to get like a brand new desk for down here, a much bigger desk. I'm on a tiny desk. It's to get a second monitor. It's to get, some streaming equipment. So that's the next step. The next round of super chats are going to start going into a pool for that. But I kind of want to get the Twitch up and running a little bit this year. So hopefully I'll be able to stream some PS5 and Series X games once they come out. Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. So maybe I'll even stream Bug Snacks. Could be possible. Super chat from Benji. I think that's your third, Benji. Thank you so much. Sony and Microsoft are having record quarters despite lower hardware sales. Yes, great note, Benji. Services/digital seem to have changed the industry. They absolutely have, and you are absolutely correct. What does this mean for next gen? What it means, Benji, is that Sony and Microsoft are going to be able to enter next generation without taking huge losses, right? Or very slim margins. What you've seen in the past, right? Whether that was the beginning of this gen or the gen before that, or really the whole history of the video game industry until now, is that once a new generation begins, either a company starts taking losses for those early quarters because you're just selling hardware. A lot of times you're taking a loss on that hardware. Your hardware sales from the previous gen have really dropped and you're slowly moving over that base to next gen. So you're losing a lot of money. Or like I said, if you're not taking a loss, you're taking like a much slimmer profit margin. But where we're at now, whether that's digital games, which are a huge factor because these companies make way more money on digital games than they make on physical games. A lot more, y'all. If Sony sells a digital game, right? Let's say it's a Sony published game. Let's say Spider-Man Miles Morales. Sony owns the studio. They are selling it through their storefront. They make 100% return on that game. Every dollar sold, it goes back to them. If you do a retail game, the seller takes a cut. So whether that's GameStop, Amazon, whatever, they're taking a cut of that game sales. You have to pay the cost of producing the disc. You have to pay the cost of shipping the game, right? There's shipping costs. All of that. You're making way less money than if you just sell it digitally. There's no retailer cut. There's no manufacturing cost. There's no shipping cost. It's straight from you to the consumer. So they're going to make way more money off of those digital games. So that helps subscriptions, PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, Game Pass, games with gold, on and on and on and on. So yes, through services and digital, they're going to very severely offset how much money they would lose or how much slimmer those margins would be traditionally. So yes, it's actually an amazing thing for the industry. Yes, big, big, big. Benji's Tank Top here with the super chat. Thank you so much. What do you think will be the state of Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation by the end of next gen? Yeah, I know Nintendo isn't following gens, but still, it's an interesting question. Here's my thoughts. I think that PlayStation 5 will outsell Xbox Series X and S combined. I do think in terms of strictly hardware, y'all, strictly hardware, that Sony will be ahead of Microsoft in hardware sales next generation. So I see them as being the leader there. Nintendo, as you mentioned, isn't following traditional gens. So it's hard for me to compare, like, what is even coming next, right? Switch 2? Or is it like a Switch revision? Like, it's hard to know exactly what Nintendo's doing because they're such a wild card. Like, you just never know. But I'll say I expect them to be super successful. What direction that's going, I'm not 100% sure, but still gigantic, colossally successful because after how good they've done with Switch, I'd be really surprised if Nintendo did a bizarre move like they did from the Wii to the Wii U. Now it's possible, right? Who knows? It's Nintendo. We always say Nintendo does Nintendo things. But I suspect they will ride the Switch momentum in a positive way. And whatever direction they go next, it's going to be a good one. But yeah, PlayStation ahead of Xbox in hardware sales, but I do think that Xbox will be ahead of Sony when it comes to service growth. I really, 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 really think so. Game Pass, y'all, was at 5 million early in the year. Then they hit, 10 million, then they hit 15 million. I think they're going to be at 20 million by the end of this year. I do think so. By the time 2020 ends, I think they will have gone from 15 to 20 million subs because you have a brand new console launch. There's going to be people buying Xbox Series X's and S's that didn't necessarily own Xbox Ones. I do think there's an element of that. You're also going to have just people that bought these new consoles that had ones that are going to subscribe with the new console, maybe that didn't before, etc., etc. You get what I'm getting at. So I think they're going to be up to 20 million there, and I think Game Pass is going to continue to just see big, big, big growth over time. So I do think Sony's going to step up their game. I think you will see PS Now grow and things like that, but I just don't know if they'll catch Microsoft strictly in services. So I could see Microsoft having an advantage by the end of next generation in terms of subscriber numbers to their services, but I think Sony will still dominate on the hardware front. But I do think Series X and S combined are going to sell better than Xbox One. Microsoft just feels like they're in a way better position than they were with the Xbox One. So overall, y'all, I'm seeing success all around. I know that sometimes people don't like those kind of answers because they see it as like almost like a cop-out, like you're being like purposefully, you're being like, oh, unity and we're all getting along. I really don't mean it like that, y'all. I really think that everyone's kind of doing their own business and they're finding success in it. And to be devil's advocate, to not be all unity and stuff, I see Google Stadia and Luna doing very poorly. So there's your negative comment. Your negative comment for fun is that Google and Amazon will not find much success, in my opinion, but the 3 platform holders we have will. Okay. We're going to go for like 10 or 15 more minutes. This has been a big chat. Thank you, everyone. It's been one of my biggest chats. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for an amazing turnout. We're going to go for like another 10 or 15. So I'm going to pull out a few more questions, but an hour and a half, I'm going to cut it off there because that's a pretty long stream. So hour and a half, we're going to cut it. But thank you, everyone, for making this one of my biggest chats we've ever had. We've had an amazing turnout. John W. Do you think Sony will start launching more multiplayer-based games on PlayStation Plus in the future to build a player base? I think they should. It worked out for Fall Guys, and now they're doing it with Bug Snacks and Destruction All-Stars. John W., yeah, I think they really should. And you know what else I think? I've commented on this before. I'd love to see more smaller-sized Sony games go instantly for free on PS Now. I don't expect Horizon Forbidden West day one on PlayStation Now. I don't expect God of War Ragnarok day one on PlayStation Now, right? They have a different strategy than Microsoft. So Sony sells tens of millions of units of their really big first-party games, and they're seeing growth there, right? So who knows? Maybe one day they can get those games multiple selling over 20 million, right? Right now, kind of the high watermark for Sony is like 20 million for an exclusive game. You've seen The Last of Us, the original, get there. Spider-Man is either already there or will very soon be over 20 million. Right now, that's like their high watermark. Only a few games ever get that high for Sony. Who knows? With their continued growth of first party, you might get to a scenario where it becomes a little more common to see a 20 million unit game. So when you're selling that kind of numbers, it doesn't make as much sense to put it day one on PlayStation Now. But something like Concrete Genie, for example, I think something like that works perfect as a launch game on PS Now. It will boost your subscribers to PlayStation Now, and also a smaller game like that, or like Medieval, for example, it gives it more room to breathe and find a different path to success than just saying, oh, hey, you have to sell only as a retail product. And PlayStation Plus ties into that directly as well, as you mentioned, with multiplayer games, which I know is different than PS Now. But yes, I think Destruction All-Stars on there is a great idea. We've seen Fall Guys. We've seen Rocket League. These multiplayer games can get a huge upfront following from going free on a service like that, and then you can make your money through microtransactions. And I know we don't like microtransactions. Y'all, I don't like microtransactions either. But when a game is free, it makes those microtransactions a little bit more palatable, right? What I really don't like is when I spend $60 on a game and then there's a billion microtransactions. I don't like that at all. But when a game's free, like we're seeing with like Genshin Impact, for example, some microtransactions feel a lot less predatory than, because at least up front, you're not paying anything. So I do think so. I do think so, John. I would like to see Sony experiment more with how they launch their games. 2 super chats coming in right at the end. Thank you so much, everyone. John Geralton with the super chat. Thank you so much. In 2013, Xbox strategy was all entertainment inside Xbox ecosystem. Now the strategy is Xbox inside all entertainment ecosystems. John, that is great. I've not seen anybody phrase it like that, but you know what? You are spot on, right? Xbox at the beginning of the Xbox One generation was all about TV, TV, TV. You can use ABC on here. You can watch NFL on here. And as you mentioned, John, it was about bringing other media into Xbox. But yeah, it's a great point. Now going into next gen, it's about, hey, instead of talking about what we're bringing into Xbox from other parties, we're talking about how Xbox can be run on your Android phone with xCloud, how Xbox games can be played on PC, either through Game Pass or through Steam, or how, you have an entry-level console with the Xbox One S, or you've got Series S, or the Xbox Series X if you want the high-end product. John, that's a great point. It's a very great point. It shows how different the thought process is from 2013 Xbox Microsoft to 2020. It's a great point, and thank you for the super chat. Mac Roberts with a super chat right at the end. What will Animal Crossing sales be after holidays? Holy crap, Mac. That's a great question. So here's the deal. We're about to get Nintendo's quarter results here soon. What was the last number, y'all? What was it? It was over 20 million. Let me get the exact number that was at. Because off the top of my head, I don't know the exact number. It was over 20 million. Let me see. Right? Am I crazy? I'm pretty sure it was over 20 million. Or maybe someone can just drop it into chat if they know right off the top of their head. Yeah, 22.4, right? 22. Yeah, JCat, thank you. Yep, 22.4 million. So dude, you know how freaking crazy that is? Animal Crossing was at 22 million already before we get this quarter. Oh my God, man. That is just insane. Wow, that was insane. Okay. So after holidays, they're going to be over 30. Yeah, over 30 million. Oh, I don't think they'll be up to 40 million yet. They're going to be over 30. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If they get to 40 million, my brain would be melted. Because we got that 22 million figure in August, right? They released that, it looks like, in August. So, yeah. Yeah, it's not going to be 40, but you're going to be over 30. You're going to be over 30 million units after the holidays for Animal Crossing, which is freaking mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Crazy. Sounds PP7 asking where I got the shirt. Target. I get most of my shirts from Target. Primarily. Most of the clothes I get are Target clothes. I'm a Target fan. Okay, let me hit. We got 5 minutes. 5-minute countdown, y'all. 5 minutes and we out. Thank you for an amazing chat. Ugerkin, Game Pass will see huge growth when Starfield comes out. I agree. Imagine every Bethesda fan subbing to Game Pass. I agree 100,000%. Yes. Once you see Starfield hit Game Pass, As long as it's good. I mean, if it's trash, then that changes everything. But as long as Starfield's up to par, if it's a great game, if we're all like, dude, this is the next Elder Scrolls, this is the next Fallout, yeah, the Game Pass subs are going to skyrocket. Same thing with Halo. Yes, Halo has been troubled development, worrying signs, didn't look great when we saw it, but Halo is still a gigantic franchise. So once Halo hits, once Starfield hits, yeah, you're going to see major growth. Dreamwalker, Benji-Sales, you've got a super cute face. Well, thank you. A good artist could make a great 8-bit art for a profile pic. Well, thank you, Dreamwalker. I appreciate the cute face comment. I'm pretty harsh on myself sometimes, but thank you. I do appreciate that. I really appreciate that, Dreamwalker. Yeah, if somebody wants to make me some cool art, hit me up. I'd love to see it. I'll share your art. Don't feel pressured to make art, anyone. I'm not sitting here shilling for art, but yeah, if you want to make some art, that'd be fun. All right, let's get one or two more questions out, and then we're done with an epic chat. John Geralton, true or false? No Grand Theft Auto 6 next gen. There will be a Grand Theft Auto 6 next gen. It will be Rockstar's next game, but I think it's still a while away. I don't expect that game soon. That's not going to be a 2021 game. Might not even be a 2022 game. Could even be 2023. You all know how Rockstar is. Rockstar will announce a date, and then we'll wait like a year later to actually get the game because they always delay their games. Which, hey, I understand. Rockstar makes like some of the most ambitious games of all time, so I get that. But the fact that Grand Theft Auto 6 John isn't even announced yet tells me that game is a long way away. I'd be shocked. I mean, I won't be shocked if you play it in 2022. It ain't coming in 2021. So yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to happen, but it's a while away. That game ain't coming out anytime soon. No time soon at all. It's at least a full year to two away, for sure. Biothin saying, what about Microsoft earnings? We went over that earlier. They're looking great. Microsoft's on track for their best year ever for Xbox. So good. Xbox is in a great place. So is PlayStation. They're both looking very strong going into next gen, Sony and Microsoft. The very beginning of this chat, we went a little bit more in detail about it. Okay, Ken B gets the last question. No, I got time for two more. Two more questions. Ken B is going to get one of the last questions. Hi, Benji. What do you think happens to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One after PS5 and Xbox Series launch? If they were going to cut price and increase production to squeeze out more sales, wouldn't they have done so by now? Ken, it's a fascinating question. Here's what we can say. And this ties into the Jim Ryan interview. So I'm glad we're going into this because we didn't talk too much about the Jim Ryan interview, and I thought there would be a lot more. So Jim talked about how the last 6 months, like literally a direct quote from Jim Ryan, has said the last 6 months changed Sony's mind and their thinking on what the plans are for PlayStation 4. There's different ways you can interpret what he's saying, but basically what Jim is saying, he flat out says PlayStation's going to get a much bigger focus, PS4, in 2021 and 2022 than they originally thought there was going to be. This is a direct quote from Jim. This is not me paraphrasing. I mean, I'm slightly paraphrasing, but I mean, literally what he says is the last 6 months have changed our thought process. So what this tells me, I would not say every single PlayStation 5 game, because I see some people panicking and being like, oh my God, there's going to be no PS5 exclusives. Everything's going to be cross-gen. I'd say no, because we have next-gen only games right now announced. Demon's Souls, next-gen only. Ratchet and Clank, next-gen only. But I do think you're going to see more of a mix from Sony than they originally thought, right? Because we do have games like Horizon Forbidden West that are next year that are announced as cross-gen. I think what's happened is Sony has realized there's still a lot of life in the PS4. They saw how much The Last of Us Part 2 sold. They saw how much Ghost of Tsushima sold. They saw how high demand for PS4 still is, even with the new generation right around the horizon. And I think it's kind of made them realize, hey, maybe we shouldn't just completely drop PlayStation very, very quickly, like maybe they were originally intending, and to pump more life into it. So I think PS4 particularly, you're going to still see a lot of life in. I think you're going to see PS4 still sell very well for a last-gen platform. To be clear here, y'all, don't expect PlayStation 4 to be putting up 20 million years, but it is still, I think, going to sell very well for at least through the rest of 2021. Next year, I think you're going to still see it have pretty healthy sales for a last generation product. For Xbox, though, I think they're dropping the one in terms of like hardware focus very quickly. And that's because Microsoft has Series S, which is launching at $299 for a next-gen platform. That's an amazing entry point. So even though the One S is only $199, you're not charging that much more to just get straight into next-gen. We know that Microsoft has some cross-gen games coming, so you're still going to see the Xbox One, get software. It's not like the software is just going to instantly end for one, but I do think Microsoft's going to focus way less on Xbox One sales in 2021 than compared to what Sony's going to do with PS4. So yeah, I think you're going to still see a strong year for PlayStation 4, but not really for Xbox next year. Okay. I think we're done. We're at an hour and a half. I'm calling it there, y'all. I'm calling it there. Thank you so much for an amazing chat. We had a huge turnout today for my channel. We were up into the 150s for a huge amount of the chat. Really quick, y'all, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you're not yet. I'm trying to grow the YouTube. The YouTube grows way slower than my Twitter account. My Twitter account has crazy growth. My YouTube is a bit of a slower grind, but I understand why. And either way, I love these chats. And even if we never grow, still going to do these every single freaking week because they're the best. But subscribe to my channel if you're not already and you liked doing this chat. Spread the word. Let people know about my YouTube. Let them know. Thanks for a great turnout. Hit subscribe. Hit like if you liked the chat. If not, don't worry about it. You can either not hit like or, hey, you can hit dislike if you want. But yeah, like, subscribe. I will see you all on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter. Otherwise, I'll catch you on YouTube next week because we will be back next week with another live chat, y'all. We do these every single week. Thanks for a legendary stream, and I will see y'all soon. Peace. Stay safe. Play some games. I'll see you next time.